Welcome to another Innovative Health Solutions webinar. My name is Dr. Wallner, and this is the Renaissance of Healthcare. Today we're talking all about leaky brain. And you know, there's so much information in this webinar that we had to split this webinar into two parts. So during this second part, we'll be covering all the practical applications for how to heal leaky brain, how chiropractic adjustments can help, and what you can do today to help reverse the patterns that cause leaky brain. Please check out Leaky Brain Part 1, where I go over all the mechanisms I see clinically here in the office to lead us down a leaky brain model for recovery. And if you've been to any of my seminars or webinars before, you'll know that we always start out with the IHS mission statement, which is to foster the highest standard in primary natural health care. Next, we talk about our values, which are to improve and restore the quality of life of every patient by cultivating physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual health, as well as emphasizing the importance of chiropractic adjustments, nutritional supplementation support, and natural therapies. Again, my name is Dr. Wallner. I'm an applied kinesiologist, functional medicine practitioner, and licensed chiropractor. Okay, so let's jump right in. Please connect with us on Facebook. We are on Instagram and YouTube. We're always posting the latest, greatest in health and wellness news, so please connect with us there. All right, again, so let's jump right in here. We've already discussed in Part 1 the importance of brain health and how it can lead to many different symptoms, and in some cases even pathology, like clinical depression, Alzheimer's, dementia, and other neurodegenerative disorders. But now in Part 2 is where the rubber meets the road. So let's talk about how we can combat the processes of neurodegeneration with simple lifestyle changes, chiropractic adjustments, and functional neurology rehab. To begin with, we have to talk about the gut-brain connection. This is no longer a new concept in the literature. Researchers have been noticing this for years now, that the environment of bacteria in our gut, also known as the microbiome, can be the strongest ally for maintaining health and wellness, or it can be the source of many chronic diseases. The human microbiome is the second brain. The DNA of the microbes in our gut vastly outnumber our own human DNA by a factor of 100 to 1. And that's honestly a conservative figure. I've seen figures of 150 to 200 to 1 numbers recently. This begs the question, who is controlling who? So as we talk today, keep in mind that healthy gut microbes, both in balance, meaning not disproportionate, and in variety, meaning different strains, are essential to not only good intestinal health, but to good brain health as well. The connection between the brain and the gut can be illustrated in the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve connects the brain in your head to the brain in your gut. This cranial nerve sends nerve impulses from our brainstem down to every organ in our GI system. Not only that, but information from our gut also travels back up the vagus nerve to our brain. Neuropeptides and neurohormones are synthesized in the gut, and that synthesis is dependent on good microflora. Remember our discussion on methylation from Part 1. Most of the serotonin our body makes occurs in the gut, and if our microbiome is compromised, or if we have small intestine bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO, our ability to synthesize serotonin will be diminished. With a proper gut microbiome, researchers have been able to demonstrate increased secretory IgA for enhanced gut immunity. The microbes in our gut weigh between 2 to 6 pounds, which is more than the brain weighs. A particular strain called Lactobacillus rhamnosus has been thoroughly studied as a mood modulator. L. rhamnosus affects depression and stress behavior in mice. Here's the thing, mice don't like to swim. So when mice are placed in a tub of water, they freak out, and we can measure their stress by measuring the release of the hormone cortisol. Cortisol shoots through the roof when mice are placed in water. We can also measure other vital signs like heart rate and blood pressure. When in water, the heart rate of the mice increases along with their blood pressure. However, when researchers supplement the mice with Lactobacillus rhamnosus and then place those mice in water, the mice are relaxed. One researcher described it as, quote, a Valium-like effect. So here's the practical application. Take your probiotic supplement and eat fermented foods, which we'll talk about later. As you can see here, a common probiotic we prescribe is called orthobiotic. Not only does it contain L. rhamnosus, but also 6 other heavily researched strains that contribute to good balance and diversification of our gut microbiome. So how does this relate to leaky brain? What we're doing is addressing gut health, which affects brain health in large part through the vagus nerve connection. The brain will get all the nutrients it needs when the gut does its job properly. So, how do we get our microbiome? Where does it come from? Just like we get our genetics from our parents, we get our microbiome when we are born, as the baby travels through the birth canal. Chronic childhood disorders have been rising steadily throughout the past 20 to 30 years. Furthermore, the rate of cesarean or C-section births has also increased. Now, I'm not saying there's causation here, but many researchers are now speculating a correlation between kids not getting a good microbiome because they did not pass through the birth canal. Now, I understand every birth is unique and every case needs to be addressed individually, but these kids need to get a good microbiome from somewhere, and one of the best places to get it from the start is from mom. To illustrate good gut health, I have some awesome YouTube videos here and a TED Talk that really go into more detail. So please do me a favor, do a Google video search for mind-altering microbes, how the microbiome affects brain and behavior, and also the invisible universe of the human microbiome. That's an NPR animation, very, very good explanation of everything that we're talking about here today. Okay, so here's the big idea. What if we could, without a single invasive procedure, treat autism, depression, obesity, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, multiple sclerosis, and a host of other chronic degenerative and autoimmune disorders by simply correcting the balance of gut microbes and supplementing with probiotics? Very profound thought here. Microbe-based therapeutics offer a way to build a stable community structure that can impart long-lasting effects without the need for continuous treatment. And it's cheaper. Doctors are already seeing amazing results with multiple sclerosis patients and fecal transplants. Now, I'm not saying that every MS patient needs a fecal transplant, but I know of cases where a man with MS couldn't walk, had the fecal transplant procedure, and now he no longer needs his wheelchair. Let's continue to talk about practical applications to help with leaky brain. This is the Bristol stool scale. As I talked about in part 1, the frontal cortex of our brain governs perception of voiding the bowel. Have you ever felt like you're about to have a massive bowel movement, but your actual movement is really small? That is a symptom of leaky brain. It is fundamentally a gut-brain axis dysfunction. Let's talk about healthy stool. Healthy stool is long, connected, and sinks slowly. According to traditional Chinese medicine, your stool should be, in terms of width, if you take your thumb and your index finger and you put them together, that's how wide it should be. And length over the course of the day should be from your wrist to your elbow. Again, over the course of the day, not all at once. If you look at the Bristol stool chart, type 3 and type 4 are considered normal stool. But if you have any of the other types, I guarantee you have gut-brain axis dysfunction, and I encourage you to address this important aspect of your health. If you are not voiding properly daily, then food and fecal material is rotting and turning rancid inside your body, which is ultimately having an adverse effect on your health and can become a home for an opportunistic infection. Now let's talk about how we can clear out some of that rancid waste and affect our frontal cortex at the same time. Because remember, we're talking about the brain here today. The organic coffee enema. Researchers have been recently giving more and more attention to the organic coffee enema as a powerful therapy for healing a dysfunctional gut-brain axis. In patients with brain neurodegeneration who are having significant difficulty with regular bowel movements, I'll prescribe them to perform an organic coffee enema. It has to be clean, dark roast, organic coffee. You don't want to put coffee sprayed with Roundup into your body in this way. The purpose of the enema is this. By distending or swelling the intestines, this activates the vagus nerve. Hey, there's that vagus nerve again. The caffeine in the coffee stimulates our intestinal motility by acting on cholinergic receptors. Remember our discussion on acetylcholine from part 1. If not, please review this from part 1. Cholinergic receptors are everywhere in the body, not just the brain. This allows patients to relieve the bowel contents, which is very important for overall health. I'm now going to talk through the procedure for how to perform this technique because when done properly, an organic coffee enema can be very therapeutic, but if done carelessly could have adverse effects. First, brew several cups of your favorite dark roast organic coffee. Set it out to cool up to room temperature. You don't want to burn your colon by flooding it with hot coffee. You'll need an enema bag or bucket with a tube and insert. There are many models out there on Amazon and in health stores. Lay on your right side, coffee at room temp, and use coconut oil to lubricate the tube and insert into your rectum. Raise the bag slowly, a little higher than your head. The higher you raise it, the more pressure builds up, and you don't want too much pressure. Hold the enema in for 12 to 15 minutes. You want the enema to circulate, the coffee to go through the plexus of veins to your liver and back. That takes about 12 to 15 minutes. You will have urges to go to the bathroom, but hold the contents as long as you can, then evacuate. Then take orthobiotic, Floracentrin, Sac Boulardii, any one of the probiotic supplements that we have here in the office. And here's the reason why. You need to replace your microbiome. You have flushed out rancid food, pieces of hardware, fur balls, whatever you have in your colon, including your good microbiome. So with our remove, we need to replace. Okay, everyone, when it comes to recovering from leaky brain, it's not all a downhill degenerative process. The brain can heal, and the sooner you start, the better. Neurodegeneration is a disruption of neuronal health leading to pathology, like dementia or Alzheimer's. If left unchecked, gut dysbiosis, leaky brain, intestinal permeability can lead to an impaired gut-brain axis or leaky brain. Just like a muscle, our brain can grow and adapt if we stimulate it and use it. The corpus callosum connects left and right hemispheres. New neural pathways are developed based on stimulation and will or hope. That's what we call neuroplasticity. Some examples of really good brain exercises are the Luminosity app, any Sudoku grid, vagus nerve functional neurology, which we will talk more about later. Like I've said, this is Leaky Brain Part 2, so I'm going to focus on the practical applications, but real quick, I want you to remember how important blood sugar and dysglycemia is. If you want to fix your leaky brain, you have to have stable blood sugar patterns. Low blood sugar will cause waking up at night. For more information on this, I'll refer you to my How to Sleep Better webinar. Okay, feeling better after eating or hangry, shaky or irritable, cortisol is high in the AM and low in the PM, dysfunctional adrenal circadian rhythms. I talk all about melatonin and cortisol in my How to Sleep Better webinar, and the antagonistic to each other and feedback mechanisms of melatonin and cortisol. So again, please check out the How to Sleep Better webinar where I go over this in more detail. Again, some more videos to search for on Google Video to get a better idea of what we're talking about here. Please check out The Real Bears, The Skinny on Obesity. These are great animations that illustrate everything we're talking about. Also, if you want more in-depth information, Dr. Lustig, The Bitter Truth. This guy has it all laid out and explains it really well from California. right, some more comic relief here. This is the brain of Homer Simpson. All right, let's talk about glyphosate. So let's talk a little bit about one of the toxins that is causing a lot of neurologic dysfunction today, and that, of course, is glyphosate, or better known as Roundup. I don't want to get into a big discussion on this. I just want you to be aware of the neurotoxic effects that Roundup can have on yourself and your kids in the event of an exposure. This is the world's most popular pesticide and herbicide, and it's a carcinogen. Very dangerous chemistry here, folks. What we're finding in the office for people who are getting Roundup accumulations in their tissues is that echinacea makes its own pesticide and will often counteract the effects of Roundup. Okay, so not only are they spraying the food we eat with Roundup, but they've also changed the genetics of the plant so that it produces its own Bt toxin, which is the genetic name for Roundup. So now when the bug or the pest eats the corn out in the field, the corn goes into the gut of the bug, and the Bt toxin is released from the corn, which kills the bug. No more bug, no more crop lost, or said another way, increased yield. In humans, this causes leaky gut, which we now know that if left uncorrected can lead to leaky brain, and in chronic cases can lead to pathology. So here's the take-home point. Buy and eat organic foods. If you're on the road and trying to eat clean, check out Panera. They have pledged to remove all artificial ingredients by 2016. And right now, Chipotle is completely GMO-free. So please, guys, educate yourself, which you are already doing by watching this webinar, but please, your health and the health of your kids depends on the choices we make right now. So, why go to the chiropractor for leaky brain? Adjustments to the cervical spine and occiput profoundly influence vagal nerve function and tone, as well as brainstem firing. Remember, the vagus nerve innervates every organ in our gut. So by receiving spinal adjustments to the areas affected by the vagus nerve, you are having a therapeutic effect on the nerve itself. So when I talk about the brainstem and the cervical spine, I'm talking about all of these connections right here, okay? Adjustments to the lumbar spine and sacrum will also affect the plexi of nerves that innervate the gut, especially the lumbar and the sacral plexus, all of this down here. And remember, all manual therapies have projections that go to the cerebellum. And we know that all cerebellar fibers project to the cortex. So literally, by getting your spine adjusted, you are changing your brain neurology, which is very exciting. Okay, so if you've watched my leaky gut webinar, you'll be familiar with our dysbiosis protocol. As Dr. B always says, fix the terrain and the bad bugs won't want to live there. So that's exactly what we're doing here with the dysbiosis protocol. We use gut flora complex to help kill all the bugs, all the bad bugs, and yeast that may be fermenting in your gut. Gut fortifier helps to pick up and remove all the die-off accomplished by the gut flora complex. Okra is especially good at that. Vitanox helps to soothe the gut after all that warfare has taken place. It contains turmeric, a powerful anti-inflammatory spice, and also provides herbs to support healthy circulation and vascular integrity. And just like we talked about earlier, orthobiotic helps to replace those healthy microflora in your gut. In our Western standard American diet, we have lost sources of fermentation in our foods. Here are some simple ways to get probiotics from food sources. Sauerkraut, real quality sauerkraut, not just off the shelf, at Kroger. The better the ingredients, the better the kraut. Kombucha, kimchi, your wine and your beers, kefir, lassis such as a mango lassi, popular in India, Greek yogurt, sparingly. There is a lot of sugar in yogurt, and some people are more reactive to dairy, so use your yogurt sparingly. And then naso is fermented soybeans. But again, I caution against the use of soybeans because they mimic estrogen metabolically. So if you find yourself eating a lot of edamame or soybeans, be mindful of that because that may be causing an imbalance with your hormones. Let's talk about essential fatty acids. What is the brain made of? It's made of fat, so you need to eat fat in order to have a healthy brain. You may have heard about fish oils, krill oils, cod liver oils, so honestly, the discussion on fats could be an entire webinar on its own, but for simplicity's sake, take your fish oil, specifically the omega-3s, which are lacking in our American diets. The omega-6 fatty acids are the pro-inflammatory ones, but we do need a little bit of the omega-6. The problem happens when these fats get out of balance. They can cause headaches, inflammation, and inhibit good cardiovascular function. So try this. Next time you get a headache or a small injury, take lots of fish oils and see if they help. I know whenever I get a headache, by taking my fish oil, it knocks it right out. Think of fish oils as a natural alternative to Motrin. Speaking of natural, there's lots of bad fish oil out there. I highly recommend getting quality fish oils from Nordic Naturals here. They are backed by clinical research and have the cleanest sourcing in the world. And what I mean by sourcing is wild and not farmed fish. Poor quality fish oil from Walmart or Costco is not going to give you the therapeutic effect you're looking for. Alright, so let's talk about bitters. So the thing is, all of our food is so salty and sweet that we have forgotten what bitter tastes like. When it comes to taste, bitter is the only taste that really fires off a cascade of neurologic reflexes that stimulate digestion, specifically pancreatic enzymes and bile secretion. Furthermore, bitters stimulate the brain via the gustatory nerve. What this means is you may be eating all the right foods, but your body isn't making the tools to break them down. All of those fats and proteins that you're eating actually require a lot of energy to break down into their amino acids and their fatty acids. This is how you fix that. So use bitters. We make a spray here, a spray supplement of liquid herbs here in the office, and I also recommend Urban Moonshine's bitter products. They're organic, they're really good. Some examples of bitter foods that you can eat are arugula, bitter melon, coffee, dandelion, dill, Jerusalem artichokes, kale, saffron, sesame seeds, turmeric, Kalamata olives, and the herb enema. So eat bitter foods and use bitter supplement sprays to help change your taste buds and cut cravings for excess sugar. Okay everyone, I've been mentioning it throughout the webinar, but here it finally is. Now we get to talk about functional neurology rehab. So again, back to the vagus nerve. How do we help a nerve do what it's supposed to do? We exercise it. So all of these things are exercises for our vagus nerve. But just like our muscles, if we don't do the exercises, our muscles will not grow strong and respond like we want them to. Same thing with our vagus nerve. We need to do these exercises to keep the nerve functioning properly. So here's what I have the patient do. Hum or sing loudly several times throughout the day. This fires the vagus nerve. Gargle with a glass of water 3 times for 12 seconds. This is like doing a sprint workout for the nerve. The gag reflex fires the vagus nerve. So take a spoon, put it on the back of your tongue or on the middle of your tongue, or use a tongue depressor. And this is like doing push-ups for the vagus nerve. But again, you need to fire that. Don't do this right after you eat because you might throw up. But initiating that gag reflex fires the vagus nerve. Do these 3 exercises and you will begin to notice your vagus nerve working much better. Finally, there is a small part of the ear that is innervated by the vagus nerve. An auricular acupuncturist can place an acupuncture needle on this point to help vagus nerve firing. So if you can see right here, this yellow spot in the ear right down there actually is innervated by cranial nerve 10, which is the vagus nerve. And there's no better person to put an acupuncture needle in your ear than our very own Jen Webb. For more information about Jen's services and life coaching, please call our front desk here at the office or visit our website at innovativehealthdoctors.com. Aromatherapy. Okay, so if you're trying to heal from leaky brain, you need to know about the power of smell or the olfactory sense. Olfactory senses go directly to the frontal cortex and limbic centers of our brain. This is the only sense we have that does not synapse in the thalamus. All other senses go to the thalamus first. Can you name all 5 senses? They are touch, taste, sight, sound, and what we're talking about here, smell. So again, smell is unique in terms of brain health because it projects directly to the frontal cortex, whereas all other senses synapse in the thalamus first. This is why scent or smell is the strongest sense associated with memory. Some essential oils can even cross the blood-brain barrier. For example, frankincense. You can use oils in a number of different ways. You can diffuse them into the air and smell them. You can rub them on your wrists or feet. And some of them you can even ingest for other health benefits. Do use essential oils, especially to help heal from symptoms of leaky brain. So, just to summarize as we bring this webinar to a close, just eat real food. I encourage you to check out Michael Pollan's Omnivore's Dilemma, which is a book that he wrote where he talks about edible food-like substances. Take your probiotics, and I encourage you to check out prebiotics, which are non-digestible fibers. Again, fiber. Eat your fruits and vegetables. We need to get plenty of fiber in our diet. We talked about fermented foods, awesome for replacing our microbiome. We talked about vagal tone exercises or functional neurology. We talked about the organic coffee enema, aromatherapy. Reduce stress and sugar, excess sugar. I talked about dysglycemia. That's going to really put a damper on recovering from leaky brain. We talked about bitter foods and the neurologic cascade that goes off to help with digestion. Get good sleep. Again, please check out that How to Sleep Better webinar. Bone broth. We didn't talk a lot about bone broth, but there are numerous health benefits that you can get from taking and making your own bone broth. Avoid genetically modified organisms or foods. Eat organic, eat clean. And once a year, do a dysbiosis protocol. I like to do it in January 1st, kind of the new year, and to really reset my gut. And of course, chiropractic adjustments. Get good adjustments, stay adjusted. One of the most powerful ways not only to affect the nervous system of your body, but to help heal from leaky brain. Okay, so that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to thank you for attending this exciting webinar on leaky brain. Please check out part 1 of leaky brain. And if you have any questions about your brain health, go ahead and contact our front desk who can help you to schedule an appointment here at the office. Once again, please connect with us on social media via Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And coming to you live from Innovative Health Solutions in beautiful Southeast Michigan, my name is Dr. Wallner, and this is the Renaissance of Healthcare.